there, my name's Jill Tiny. I'm from Collaboration Global, and this is our podcast, Being Human, Hidden Depths. I'm going to be interviewing some of our members from Collaboration Global, and they're going to be sharing with you their extraordinary lives. Although they would probably believe they're just normal, everyday, average humans, but they are extraordinary. A bit like you and me. We all have our story to tell. We've all been through difficult times, and we've come out the other end having learnt an extraordinary amount about ourselves that we can share with others. So I think you'll find lots of things that will resonate with where you've been in your journey as well. I look forward to seeing you on the other side. Lovely, and welcome to Human Being, or even, we've been laughing so much, Brian, I've got myself muddled up. Being Human, Hidden Depths. Welcome to Collaboration Global's podcast with me, Jill Tiny, and my very special guest, who's had me giggling already, Brian Abbott. Welcome, Brian. Lovely to have you with us today.
Thanks, Jill. Great to be here with you.
This is going to be really exciting. So you've been a member of Collaboration Global for a teeny-weeny amount of time, but you've thrown yourself in. I'm very impressed. We both think it's like, come on, let's do the podcast and let's get on with it so that we can all learn a little bit more about you. My first question, I'm not going to talk about you. Let's talk about Collaboration Global. Why did you join? What attracted you? What was the impetus to get you to become part of our community?
Well, what I really liked was in the post that you put up and I read was the community was about love, it was about caring, it was about giving. It wasn't about selling yourself, and it was what can you give back to community and what can you contribute to within the group that is there. And that I thought was really, really cool, because most of the places I've been to, it's about, okay, tell us what you do and what can we get. And I really enjoyed that. I thought, no, this sounds good to me. And so far, yeah, it's been fantastic.
Early days, but hopefully it's only going to get better. That's the whole point. And I think we met through LinkedIn. God bless LinkedIn. And we're part of a little LinkedIn group that's working really well. And interestingly, I've been sat on the sidelines in the background going, a lot of people getting together and collaborating. Let's see how this goes. And interestingly, ultimately, it's not a collaboration. It's a hierarchy that's happened that way because that's what we're used to. And there was in the beginning a kind of move towards collaboration, but because it wasn't set up in that way, it didn't quite hit it off. So the people that wanted to collaborate went, well, this is a hierarchy, so I'm out of here, and they went. And I find it fascinating how things settle as time goes on, and how human nature can be its best and its worst.
And just having been involved in a couple of the sessions, Jill, I really like the integrity of the people. They talk from the heart. There's a sincerity about it. And so the rapport is really lovely. It just flows. It's not a time where you sit there and you go, oh, this is uncomfortable. Because those happen. So for me, it was lovely just to sit down. And it is lovely to sit down and just be part of that thing and be accepted into it really, really quickly.
Yeah, thank you. So, brilliant. And it's lovely to have you because your energy is infectious. I absolutely love it. And also, what you do is really insightful. And I love that we can have somebody in the group that kind of brings something new to the game. We have other business coaches in the room. We have other consultants in the room. And everyone has their own kind of sweet way of doing things. But, I mean, when you said to me, we have the electric chair, I was like, okay, this is new. So I love the way that you've taken what other people might do, but you've made it your own. And the fact, what's your phrase on LinkedIn? You're a
behavior magician.
Magician. Very clever. Let's go back to the beginning though. By your lovely accent, you weren't born in the good old UK, were you? Where did you
I was born in sunny skies in South Africa. And yeah, lived there most of my life. We've been here 9 years. Oh. So we did a full immigration. So we're now British citizens. Wow. I do go back on business and to see family and friends, but yeah, this is home now.
So what triggered that? What brought you to the UK?
I think the food and the weather.
Yeah, I get that. Always.
What can I say? No, Jan, my wife and myself, she's a business partner. We looked at it and we thought, for us to develop international opportunities, South Africa is too far away. I know it sounds crazy. And the fact of the matter, out of 60 million people, 5 million people are paying tax. which in our view was unsustainable over a period of time. So we decided to make some decisions, come over here and set up an international business as well, which is without a doubt good decision in the middle of a double dip recession. But nevertheless, it's been fun. It's been a journey. There's been some ups, there's been some downs, as there always will be. And yeah, this is home now. And it's been good because we've developed quite a lot of business here. And I do quite a lot of work in the States as well, which I thoroughly enjoy too.
Yeah. So presumably being in South Africa, the States, was that stretched too far that you felt that you needed to be somewhere? Yeah, that makes sense. So what was life like growing up in South Africa, 20 years ago when you were dad?
20 years, yeah. It really was wonderful because 5 to 6 days out of 7 you get sunshine. I grew up in Johannesburg, which is blue skies most of the time. And we were outdoor people. If you were caught inside, you were kicked out by your parents and said, what are you doing inside? Get outside, the sunshine, go and play. Yeah. And growing up in that environment, you used to get to build relationships really, really quickly. I mean, we knew our neighbors, every single one of them in the street. We all played together. We formed bands together. We did all kind of stuff together. So there was really a lot of fun growing up over there as a kid. And of course, it was a really safe environment in those days.
In those days, at what point did you see it change? Was that part of the reason you wanted to come? I've got friends that are from South Africa and they've moved for safety purposes.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. You know, it is not as safe as what it used to be. However, the news always makes things much worse than what it did. If you go there, you'll have the most amazing time. Yeah. But like we're everywhere, you go, there's places that you don't want to go and places you shouldn't go. And your gut will tell you that as you walk in, you go, this is not for me. Places in the UK, places in London I wouldn't go to, all over the world. But in general, no, the safety factor is, especially now, is really not good at all.
It's a shame when everyone says it's such a beautiful country.
No, it is magnificent. So it's a microcosm of the world. And the reason for that is, whatever you've got in the world, wherever we've got there, in South Africa, there are tiny little spots where you've got that. You've got desert, you've got savanna, you've got forest, you've got snowscapes. So it's a tiny little spot, but yeah, it's a microcosm of the big world. So it's quite fascinating. And I guess for me, growing up over there, we had so many different cultures. So there were German, Italian, Portuguese, Spanish, doesn't matter who it was. But because it was small, our next door neighbor was Portuguese. So we got to understand the values, the cultures, the attitudes, what makes them tick, of so many different people. There's a French club, an Italian club, a German club. So when I'm working internationally, what gives me a great advantage is the ability to be able to say, I recognize that accent. You Portuguese, where are you from? And we can have a chat about it. We build rapport quickly. And that for me is an enormous amount of fun because I love dealing with people. I love just finding out what is it that makes you tick. Where do you come from? And from here, I don't care about how much you earn, where you live. That's not important to me. What's important to me is what makes you tick as a human being.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like you had a very similar upbringing to me from the point of view it was multicultural. And I look back on that time. You don't see it as a kid, do you? You just think, oh, that's my life. But when you sort of go down the road in your head, as you say, you know everybody. You play out on the street with everybody. It was Irish, English, Portuguese, Jamaican, Bangladeshis, Pakistanis. You know, every nationality under the sun that you can possibly think of. And you felt safe, even though it was the East End of London. And a lot of people go, oh no, you didn't live there, did you? Ooh. You know, it was just how you grew up, wasn't it? You didn't see it any differently. But I totally get where you're coming from, is that people fascinate me. And I wrote a post today about age and how people view age and the number that it is. And I talk to children in exactly the same way as I would talk to you. And I remember one 8-year-old saying to me, walking down the high street, going to some shops, and this was my friend's daughter. And she looked up and she went, Jill, you're very good with children, aren't you? I said, well, I think it's because I just like people and I'm interested in people. So because I'm interested in what you do and, you know, who your friends are and what you're interested in, then you like to talk to me about it. So people are fascinating. I love it. Yeah. I totally agree. That's probably why we bonded so early on. So you've come over to the UK and you've started a business. That's really brave. Did you feel brave at the time when you were doing that?
Yeah, I did. I didn't realize what I was getting into. But yeah, because it's a little different values, different culture, and not knowing anybody. What you have to be able to do here, what I found is it's not what you know, it's who you know. And if you get introduced by people, then it's fantastic. But it does take a while, no doubt about it. In my experience, in any case.
What was the biggest culture shock for you then? What was the difference in culture that you saw that was a bit weird?
I think for me, Jill, having come from a sunshine country, people are really gregarious. They're really friendly. They're out over there. And when I came over here, to get to know people took a little bit longer. I think people are a little, in my experience, a little more reserved, a little more closed off. And once you get to know and understand, then it opens up. But it does take a little while. In South Africa, in general, you meet someone and they're open straight away. It's just a different culture. It's quite amazing.
Yeah. I wonder if the weather does play some part in that.
I'm absolutely convinced. The vitamin D that you get is really, really important. I mean, I find that in winter over here, as the sun starts going down at 4 o'clock, it's like, whoa.
Yeah, it does. And everyone just is indoors, isn't it? They just, it's interesting. So you've started your new business, and like you say, you found out you needed to know some important people. I remember Daniel Priestley, who runs Dent. He famously tells his story in one of his books about how he came over to the UK from Australia, and all he had was a suitcase full of clothes and a credit card. And he spent his money from that credit card researching through LinkedIn who were the most connected people, and he invited 12 of them to dinner. And he paid for it in a swanky hotel. He said it cost him an absolute fortune, and he invited them to dinner. And they're still connected and friends today because those people helped him to get his business off the ground. And I'm like, whoa, it is who you know. It's clever, isn't it?
That's very clever.
But it's so obvious when you think about it. You do need to know these people that are connected, and that's half the battle. When you're growing any business, it's not, the piecemeal, a client, I've got a client, and I've got another client, I've got another client. You want to meet the introducer that can get you 10 clients, and the person before that can get you 50 or 1,000 or 2,000. And I think a lot of people are just so, they see what's in front of their face, don't they? And it's I need a client, and then we're going find
I was guilty of that as well. Initially, it's going, whoa, what are you going to do? And then you realize, or I realized in any case, it's about the collaboration that you have with people. It's about having the deep connection where people go, you're not just in this to see what you can get out, but what you can give as well, what you can put in. And I believe that's really important.
Yeah. And I think the society we're in, if you look at the big macro position that we're in, is trained, conditioned to look after themselves and keep things close. And it's like, well, I'm not going to collaborate because I got stung last time, and I'm not going to collaborate because they might steal my IP. And it's like this fear factor. And when you come from a place where you are open, and it's like, well, I want you to be my friend, and how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to help you. What can I do to help you? How can I help you? And then it gets reciprocated. And ultimately, people want to help, don't they? So you can go to someone and say, can I have your help? And come and, so if somebody in our community came to you and went, I've got this issue with my boss, you'd be able to probably highlight some things for them, and they'd be like, oh, how much do I owe you? No, it's fine, go.
No, relax.
Exactly. It's a different mindset. It's a different way of seeing the human race. And
there's a lovely metaphor I really like. It says, if the dam is full and you don't let any of the water out, it'll eventually begin to get stagnant and rot. And I think it's the same with us in terms of our knowledge. If we just keep our knowledge, it eventually gets stale. So when you let it out, there's room now for more and more and more to come in. And today we learn at such an exponential level. We just see that from our LinkedIn groups, from the collaboration groups. There's people out there that I go, where do you get that knowledge from? And I'm really fortunate to have some friends that are savants, a guy like Claudius van Wyk, who's an absolute genius, and just to chat to the guy and just find out the information that comes through, and it's like I learn in his presence. It's amazing.
Yes, it's like osmosis.
Yeah, we've all got stuff to share.
we have got so much to share, and I think that's the joy, though, as well, isn't it? It's just being able to. I can't remember. I think it was somebody from our little group. I was chatting to them on the phone the other day, and they're like, "Oh my God, you're a genius! I'm brilliant! I love that. Thank you. I'm going to use that." I'm like, "Oh, you're welcome." I thought it was obvious, but for them, it was this great blinding flash of the obvious. It's like, wow, I'd never looked at it like that way before. So it makes you feel good when you can help
Yeah.
someone like that, doesn't it?
And you'll never have that experience unless you talk about what your expertise is, or what your thoughts are, what your feelings are in that, and you let go of some of that stuff. Yeah, because what is IP to there? I mean, yeah, you can write a little thing and put it, that's my IP. I don't think anything's really brand new. We take stuff from here, we add it onto here, we put our own little flavor onto this, we do that, and suddenly it becomes, oh, this is mine. I don't believe anything's really ours.
I don't.
There's so much out there, and there's so much at our fingertips today as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you could give me any topic you like. I can go onto the web, I can look it up, and I can go, oh yes, this and this and this and that.
And then somebody else will go, no, that's not true anymore. It used to be true.
Yeah.
It's like, where did that quote come from? It was Aristotle. Oh, I thought it was the other guy. We don't know. We weren't there. We didn't hear him say the words. So it's
so true.
it is crazy. But that's what I love about having a group of people around me that I trust, because when I get stuck in business, and I like to think I know it all. I tell my husband I know it all. I know everything. I'm always right, obviously. But when I don't know something, you go, well, there's that option or there's that option. So I go to the people around me, the people I know, like, and trust and respect, and I put it out there. Now, it doesn't mean to say that I'm asking them for their opinion. I'm not necessarily asking for them to be right for me, but I can think better when I bounce ideas off of people and get their feedback. And then I hear everything. I'm like, okay, so I'm going to take a bit of that and a bit of that and a bit of that, and that's what I'm going to do. And I'm responsible for my choices, but I use people around, I ask people around me to help me to make those choices. And you can only do that in a grown-up way when you trust the people that you're around.
I agree.
And that's what I love about the culture of Collaboration Global, is that there is nobody thinks you're stealing stuff. Nobody thinks you're taking a client. Nobody thinks you're, pinching IP. It's just like, have it. This is my stuff. Go use it. Make the most of it. And that's
I love that saying that says, it's not about the song, it's the way you sing it that is so important. And we all have our own voice and our own flavor of doing that stuff. So you can take exactly the same topic, have 5 different people presenting it, and you're going to have 5 different presentations, and each one you're going to learn something out of.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. I like that. So you have just started your business in the UK 9 years ago. You've got business in America, and it's going really, really well. So if there's somebody in, say, London now, and they go, well, why would I possibly employ this man? What sort of problems do you come up against where people go, oh gosh, we need to get the behaviour magician in to sort us out?
I think some of the biggest problems that I'm seeing right now, especially in this time now, is people having worked on furlough, worked at home, and having come back into the office now, and it's almost like a strange environment. And there's some tensions, because what's in my experience, in any case, with a couple of people have been working on furlough, not all of them, but it's almost like a holiday, and then guys at the office have been there the whole time. And now we come together, and the perception is wrong, right? Doesn't matter, it's a perception, is you guys have had a holiday, we've done all the work over there, and there's conflict over there. And how do you rectify that? How do you get that stuff together? And I've been fascinated in human behavior since I was a kid, and for the 30 years I've been studying it. I've always been fascinated by the magic and the mystery of human behavior. What is it that makes us tick? How is it that one day we can get up in a fantastic mood, and 15, 20 minutes later, someone just looks at you in a certain way, and boom, your state changes. Then you get into the office, and you don't get on with your boss because of whatever reason, and you go down over here, but someone gives you a little phone call, sends you a WhatsApp and says, oh, don't worry about it. And by the time you get home, you've had a cocktail of emotions, and you're flipping exhausted. And so how do you manage that stuff in an office? And I love doing that, because what we do is we unpack where it is. First of all, you've got to build a bit of trust, no matter who or what you are. And once the guys trust you, then they'll open up and start talking about the real issues. And I think what does happen for me a lot of the times in leadership is people will tell the manager, the boss, the CEO, what they want to hear, not what the real truth is or what they need to hear. And so what often happens is the guys go, and I talk about what I do, and the guy said, no, we got a happy team. I say, I'll guarantee you that you don't. I'll guarantee you that there will be pockets of deep frustration, but you won't know about it. And the brave people say, all right, come, let's take on a challenge. And we do a little bit, I unpack some stuff and they go, I don't believe that. So if you've got those things happen, do people really work towards their full potential? Are they having fun? And that's the one thing I do in any organization I work in. I show the guys how to have fun, because I believe this fully. If you're not having fun in what you're doing, you're paying too high a price, number one. Your energy level, you're going to waste so much energy, because in my experience, most people are not doing what they want to do. They've got a job. And so you've got 8-9 hours a day when you're working and and your values are out of sync. So when you get home, there's no energy for the kids, or if there is, then it's not that full engaged energy. And so what we do is we find out from people, what is it that you really want to do? What drives you? What's your passion? What's your juice? What gets you up in the morning? What gets you to go to bed late at night? And I do this with the guys over there. Fun for me is very simple. It stands for full-time involvement in what I'm doing. Unlimited enthusiasm, and do it now. And so a lot of leadership, the guys say, no, fun stuff, especially your more serious people, your driving type people, direct to the point, facts and figures driven, results orientated. But I've certainly found out, and I've proved this many, many times, when people are excited about what they're doing, they're happy to come to the office, they're enjoying what they're doing, they're having fun, they are so highly productive, and it doesn't feel like work. You don't have to get your sales guys to go out and sell. They do it automatically. Things just roll, things happen, there's a fluidity about it. And that's what I thoroughly enjoy doing.
Yeah, I think it's amazing because the creativity goes through the roof as well. And what's ironic is that when you've got a company that is having fun and everyone's loving what they do, it's not just the salesman that can sell. What you'll find is that the secretary or the PA or the marketing person will be down the pub on a Friday night, and everyone knows that they love their job. It's like, oh, did you have a good week? Oh, yeah, it's brilliant. We did this. It was fantastic. Where is it you work again? And before you know it, they're sharing, their business and their company and their organization with other people. So you don't have a recruitment problem, because every time somebody leaves, there's a half a dozen people waiting to jump in their space.
Because people are saying, I want to work with that company over there. They're absolutely awesome. And it's not rocket science to do it. For me, it takes leadership where people are engaged in what they're doing. They are having fun. They're passionate about it. And they're open for people to tell them, say, you never have to break somebody down, in my opinion, in life. I think people who break other people down have issues inside themselves. You can tell someone to go to hell in such a way that they look forward to the trip. And it's not what you say, for me, it's how you say it. And when you've got an open leadership team that are prepared to sit and listen to what people are going to say, they will hear so much. They'll be able to change the direction of the company, the focus. They'll be able to engage people really, really, really quickly. And you get a trust, because if you ask me my opinion, I tell you, and you do something about it, man, I'm going to follow you. I'm going to follow you into places that I would not normally go. And that for me is what leadership is. Be out there first. Be with the folks. Show them what to do and get engaged. And there's a crazy thing that I do. If the company is mature enough and the leadership is mature enough, I do what I call a little electric chair session. It sounds crazy, but it becomes a love story. It really does. And what we do with that, when there are issues and challenges, we put a whole team of people, and I've done it with 20 people before, which takes hours. But in a leadership team, it's normally 10 or 12 people. We pop the people in there and we sit in the chair. We call it the electric chair. And there's some really stringent rules. I'm not going to go into them now. But we have the opportunity to tell all of us, each of us, exactly what we like about the person, but how that person could be a better manager and a leader. What could you do to change? So it's not about, well, you do that, Mike, and you do that. It's going, let me tell you, Brian, what frustrates me about you is you make a commitment to do it, but you don't follow through. So you renege on your commitment. And that for me creates massive stress down the line, because I now have to do damage control over here, put out fires over here. And they're never really major things, Jill. We don't let them get personal. But what happens in that is I learn about myself, and I go, and I don't care how long you've been in business. If you've been in business for 20 years, you will have heard that same feedback for 20 years. The question is, when do you do something about it? Because most of us hear this and then we push it into the background because it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, it takes a strong leader to be able to go through that, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, it does. And there's many companies that I say, you're not ready for it. I did one when I first got to the UK. I took 15 directors away, and I couldn't mention the company's name.
No.
I'd love to now, but it's unethical. And I said to the guys, you know what? The HR lady and myself said, she's a Canadian lady, and I said, you know what? These guys are not ready for this. They're just going to nail each other. They're going to be vindictive. And it was quite sad because most of them were over their 40s as well. And when I told them, I said, you guys are not mature enough. They were really upset with me. And then, of course, I have a lot of fun when that happens. I said, come on, let's talk about it. If I said this to you, what would you do? And you could see their body language, guys.
And it's like, there you go, that's why you're not mature enough to do it.
So we measure that stuff really, really, really carefully. Each company has its own flavor, so there's a menu for each one. I don't have a package that says, here you go, here's a 52-page program, we're going to do this. We sit, we unpack what people, where we are, what you want, what do you want to get out of it, and then we put something special together for that. And that for me is the magic of it, is to see how people flourish and they grow in these organizations. And it's wonderful, because for me, fantastic organizations have fantastic people. And you're always going to have someone that doesn't fit into an organization. And I love what Richard Branson says. He says, we have people that don't fit in our organizations. We don't transfer the problem to another division. Because that's what we tend to do a lot of the time.
Oh, yeah. Local government, they get promoted if they don't fit. What's that all about? It's very weird.
So we don't do that. What we do is we coach. We find the right person to coach that person. We give them exactly what we can. And if it gets to a point where it just doesn't work, I have a philosophy: find them a job at your competitor.
It's a bit cheeky.
And sometimes when that does happen, is we feel so relieved, because there's so many people I found that are in the wrong positions. They're not experienced to do it, and they're more stressed than anything.
Yeah.
And you help that person as well. And I don't believe in firing people easily. What I do believe in is coach. Help the person as much. If they don't want to help themselves at some point, then a wake-up call comes at some stage in life, because we all have those. And that's kind of, who am I? Where am I going? What do I want to do? And in a nutshell, that's the kind of things that we do.
That's a big nutshell. That's quite a lot. And I can imagine there's people that are listening to this now thinking, oh my God, I wish we could do the electric chair with my boss. That would be so cool. Because there are so many people that are really frustrated, but they just don't have the words, or they don't feel they have the authority, because the relationship hasn't been built where they feel they can say that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can see it kills people from the inside. I mean, the companies that I've worked with in the past, where, you know, I've been brought in to work with the staff, and very quickly you find the staff are really good. It's the person at the top that's causing the problems, but they don't want to. You give them strategies, you give them that this is what you could say, that, you know, have you considered? They won't do it because they're worried about losing their job. Bottom line.
Well, you know, it's funny you say that, Jill. I had a 4.5-hour webinar yesterday with a client down in Africa. That's as much as I'm going to say. And exactly that situation. Small little group, 10 people.
Yeah.
The biggest issue is the CEO, and he doesn't know it. And I have to be able to tell him this. And so I've got to do it in a way, but I know how to do that, because I've got a good relationship with him. Very, very stubborn, very, very proud. And when he walks in, everyone just switches off. Luckily, I recorded it.
That's good.
Yeah, because
That's good.
In terms of behavior, there's a fun little exercise I do. I used to do a lot of river rafting in South Africa, which is fantastic. And I want to find a place here. Personalities are really important. So when I'm looking at anybody in work, whether it's work, play, doesn't matter. We all have basic styles, and we have 4 aspects. We have dominant characteristics and easygoing characteristics. Spontaneous, you show your feelings. Self-control, you don't show your feelings, but you feel them. And out of those 4, if we take a dominant and a self-controlled, and we label that driver. And these are generalizations, so I need to be careful of that. But in general, an extreme driver in the corner. So you get the person in the center, but the person in the corner who's extreme in the style will be direct, to the point, facts and figures driven, results orientated, blunt, rude, abrupt. They'll be speaking like I'm speaking now. And if you cut off their finger, they can't speak.
Yeah, I know that person.
We all do, don't we? Anyone's listening, go, that's my boss.
Yeah.
And they
But
can be
nobody's sitting there going, oh, that's me. Are they? Nobody would dare admit it.
No, I'm not like that.
Not at all, no.
And then you have the opposite style of that, which is your amiable type person who's spontaneous and easygoing, do not like conflict, arguing, confrontation. They battle to say no, and they're warm and gregarious and friendly. Challenges, long-term planning for them is breakfast tomorrow morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I do is I take those two totally different personalities just to describe what happens in an office environment or a customer, salesperson environment, different division environment. Take a driving style who likes to be in control, put them in front of the boat. We call them crocodiles. They're two-man inflatables. Give them a paddle and blindfold them. They're out of their comfort zone already because they like to be in control. You put the amiable in the back who likes to have fun and play and laugh.
Yeah.
And to paddle the boat from the front is really difficult because you steer it from the back.
Right.
And we videotape this. And we give them a little obstacle course. And the guy at the back, the amiable lady, has to say, okay, Mike, I want you to turn. No, left, not left, no, the other. And it takes 5 minutes and the person rips off their masks and tells them about their family history in no uncertain terms.
Oh.
And you just see the face of the amiable go into hurt mode. And we videotape this. And then I'll say afterwards, so how did that go? No, it was fantastic. So come, let me show you what behavior really is. And we show the video back. And in that way, I can, when someone sees what they look like, a shock happens because it goes, reality. I never knew I was like that. And that's where we take it from and we work and we say, right, so when you look like that, what does it look like to somebody else? Don't say anything, Brian, if you're a driver. What does the rest of the team look like? It's intimidating, it's scary, and big lessons happen from that. So we learn from an internal point of view, wow, this is what it comes across like. And that's where you have significant change taking place. Because you can tell me what to do, but if I don't see it and feel it inside, I'm not going to make that change. Absolutely. And so that for me is lovely. So this guy having the picture of him walking in with that face that looks like thunder, and the rest of the team suddenly going, I watched it this morning, I went, oh man, this is going to be good.
So how do you recreate that when everything now is on Zoom? I mean, do you say, well, when we get together, guys, then we're going to do this thing, or can you recreate that online?
Well, it's been a journey, and I have to tell you, it's been an interesting journey for me, because what I love to be able to do is when I'm talking, especially on a chair session or things like that, it's the tiny little nuances that I have to be aware of, the little skin tone change in the face, the little lips swelling over here. When you say something, our body will always move, because whatever happens over here, there'll be a physiological reaction, whether it's this or crossing the feet, that I can't see as easily now. So what I'm finding now with Zoom and Microsoft Teams and all of that, there's different capacities that come into play now. There's the sense that goes, hang on a sec, let me just ask that question again and watch the general body language. So if I can, I'll put people into the same room, social distancing, the whole thing, and that makes it easier. But when we're on webinars and it's like you and myself, different places over there, there's little things you can pick up, but yeah, it's not as effective, but it's still effective. And that's what I'm starting to enjoy about it. I'm going, wow, this can be done over here. Because I initially thought, nah, you'll never be able to do it. But it's starting to work. And I'm looking and going, so my mind's now going, there's different ways to do this. Yeah. So let's start off like this. We're still going to have the time where we need to be face to face.
Yes.
No doubt about it. But I think what can happen is, in the stuff that I do, and we can still have the group stuff, and then a lot of the follow-up stuff can now be done on webinars, which will save companies enormous costs as well.
Yeah, definitely. I was just thinking what I used to do with kids. I was a teacher about 100 years ago in primary school, and we used to do like Friday afternoon games, and one of them would be you would give a child a word that they would have to draw, and the other person would have to guess what the word was. So it's a similar kind of thing where they're kind of describing what's there so that they draw it, and then the others have to guess what the picture was to find out what the word was, and the frustration that goes around, and they have to work together in order to everyone to understand what the word was on the piece of paper. So quite funny, but if the person drawing, as you say, is that kind of dominant personality and they don't get it, it's hilarious for everybody else, but they get so cross. It's really interesting to understand it. Yeah.
And the beauty for me is that every single one of those styles has their strength. My wife and I are different.
Yeah.
I'm an expressive type person. I open my mouth
Really?
before I
can't
engage
imagine
brain.
that. Yeah, really? You're such a shy and retiring man, Brian.
And just like yourself. And I think when I first met, I thought, and I know Janie sometimes says to me, Brian, wind your neck in, babe, because our expressive style, when someone has a comment, we've got to chirp like that because we think very quickly. I'm not saying they're appropriate. Sometimes they are totally inappropriate, and sometimes they're saying things for the sake of saying things.
Yeah.
With Jan is on the other side, she is more analytical, so her brain structures stuff really well. I don't do that. I battle to do that. So together as a team, we're really good because I'll have an idea. I'll go, wah, 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 and I'll say, okay, put this together. And she said, slow down to the speed of light. And I go, okay, put that together. And in organizations, the same thing happens when we can get people to see that, yes, you may have conflicts, you may have differences of opinion, you may think differently. However, if you take your strengths and you meld those strengths together, you've got powerful stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
But it enables us to drop our ego, our pride, and to get together and go, let's just open up and have some fun.
Yeah.
I did a little project, well, I still do it, called PNI, Psychoneuroimmunology, where we either really, there's three things. We get excited about who we are in life, so we're above what we call a baseline state. So we're in a state of motivation. Motivation, I've got an idea, I put the energy together, action towards it. Or baseline state, how do you get up in the morning? So some of us, when we get up, we cannot operate until you had your first cup of coffee. Don't talk to me until I've had my cup of coffee. And other people get up and they're down and depressed. So we move up and down this little thing, every single one of us, 5, 6, 7, 10, 20 times a day. We're going to move up and down that. When we're above the line, we are so much more effective. In my experience in the last, I've been doing it now 15, 16 years where I plot people. I don't have a mechanical thing, so there's no written stuff to it. But when I ask people, and we've built a lot of reports, I get an honest answer from the vast majority. I know when I'm not because the eyes do certain things and the body language does. But it's not a massive plot. I just want to get an idea of where the group is. And in the vast majority of groups that I deal with, 65, 70% management, leadership, are on the line or below the line, which is pretty scary because if you and I are not motivated and not excited, how the hell do I motivate anyone? I've got this philosophy: if I don't love me, how am I going to love somebody else?
Exactly.
If I can't live with me, how am I going to live with someone else? And I must be honest, sometimes I'm a pain in the A to live with. I know that. Sometimes I look in the mirror and I go, you need to go on your own attitude course, boy.
I like it. I like it.
No one's perfect. We're going to go through that. And so I see so many of the organizations on that line and below the line. And the baseline state, how do you wake up in the morning? Imagine if you have to wake up every single day of your life and go, oh man, I hate what I do. That's a strong word.
Yeah.
And those words will have effect on our motivation, on our brain, on the way our chemicals in our brain work. And that's what we make people aware of. And that's why I talk about the magic of having fun. Because when you're having fun, you're pumping in dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, all those wonderful happy drugs into our system. And those become a habit. Being
absolutely.
down becomes a habit.
Yeah, I remember when years ago when I was at work and I went into the office one morning and there was this guy that was always happy, always happy, peeing down with rain outside, and he'd be chirpy and everything. And I'm like, aren't you ever miserable? It's Monday morning, it's peeing down with rain, we've got to go out in a minute.
What the hell are you on?
yeah, that wasn't sun, please. And he used to say, I've got food in my belly, a roof over my head, sunshine in my mind, the world is fine by me.
Wow, what a wonderful attitude.
Oh, he was an amazing human being. Absolutely.
What a wonderful attitude.
And it's like you stop you in your tracks going, yeah, what the hell have I got to complain about? I've got to go out in the rain. Yeah, that's it. You know, I really haven't. And he was just a beautiful human being. And it is kind of understanding that a lot of people don't realize they have a choice. Even if they're going to a job they don't particularly like, they can choose the mood that they take into the job. Now, if you're going to choose a mood to be positive, to be proactive, to be out there, to be happy, to have fun, even if you're a road sweeper and it's not your chosen profession, you can still enjoy and have fun with what you are doing. You know, whatever job, whatever task you don't want to do, you know, I don't like doing the ironing. I very rarely do it, but when I do it, I choose to do it with the goodwill. If you don't want to make dinner of an evening for your beloved, but you have to because they're out or there's something else, and you choose to do it with goodwill, it tastes better.
Oh, for sure. Not even a question. I'm with you 100% on that. I agree, absolutely. And circumstances, doesn't matter what they are, Jill, those can influence my attitude. We know results come more from a positive attitude than from any other factor. So circumstances can influence, but I've got the choice to choose my attitude regardless of what the circumstances are. Fully agree with that. And with the group yesterday, I'm saying, so this dude is going to come in tomorrow morning. Make no mistake, he's going to look like he's been weaned on pickles. He's going to have a sour face. If you allow yourself to go down, it's your choice. Because you don't have to be influenced by it. You can have a little code that you have between you guys over here, and when he walks in, you can just go, and it would mean something, and you can burst out laughing. So this morning, I posted a crazy little video on LinkedIn, just because Friday for me is to make people laugh. It's just like, let's lighten up a little bit, take the week and just boom, pop some dopamine into your brain, lighten up and chill out a bit. And I've sent a lot of those to them, and I've said, have a look at this. And I've got a whole lot of feedback today already. Oh man, that was so funny. Just changed my day. I said, no, you made the choice to change your day based on something else that influenced you. That's where that yo-yo syndrome comes down.
So do you find when you're dealing with these kind of people that are imparting to others this kind of, you know, basically sucking out the happiness from the workplace, and when they come to that space of understanding that actually they have that responsibility to the people who come to work for them, that they need to kind of have fun in the workplace, but also to allow them to be creative, allow them to be wrong, allow them to fail occasionally. Do you go down the road of forgiveness? Because there must be some people in there that, you know, are so upset with the boss, but they just need the money and they've got to stay in that job, but they're going in and they've hated him for something he might have done 10 years ago, and they're kind of hanging on to that, and the relationship has always been soured. So do you take them on to the next stage as well?
Yeah, I think let me answer that in two ways. I think number one, it starts with us and our journey. And certainly for me in my journey, I didn't grow up as a confident, wonderful, rah-rah kid. I grew up with quite a good dose of low self-esteem, lack of confidence, and a fear of failure. And it took me, when I went on a course, I thought, you know, at Abbott, I was in my early 20s. I thought, you know what, this is not a way to live. Really, it isn't. Doubting yourself the whole time. And so my journey was to do that. I used to get away from that. I used to go and do river rafting and kayaking, grade 4, grade 5, jumping out of aeroplanes, diving down to 60, 70 meters.
Scaring yourself a little bit.
Yeah, it
made you feel alive though, didn't it, I guess?
Yes, that's exactly it. It kind of made me go, I'm alive. But even though that was there was a part of me that wasn't alive. There was a part of me that hadn't been explored, and that was the internal journey. And I really believe so many of us are scared of going inside and facing who we really are, what we really are. Absolutely. And I love that epitaph that says, here lies Johnny, who died of full potential, born 1940, died 2025, but they buried the dude in 1965.
Oh,
how many people come to die to see that they have not lived?
Yeah.
And that is my focus and my journey whenever I'm doing what I'm doing, is because I'll identify that very quickly in people. Because of coming from low self-esteem, I can pick that up quickly. And is it easy to fix? No. It's about dedication. It's about having fun. The beauty about it is when you take that journey and you take that road, that's the less traveled road, that beautiful book, there's so many people on the road that are on that same journey. And you can't go, hey, I thought I was the only one who had this garden. No, there's tons of us out there.
Yeah.
And when we face that, I believe the doors of who we are and what we are open up. And we start to find more about ourselves that we never knew, and we start to explore more, and that becomes an excitement, and it becomes a journey of excitement. And along that way, I believe this. If I learn how to cope with some of the things that I've got, I can help other people do the same.
Yeah.
And there'll be people who see stuff in me that I'm not recognizing right now that'll go, Brian, do you know you're doing this? No, tell me. And because we're on
Yeah.
that journey, I'm more open to go, show me. Yeah, sometimes I go, oh, here we go, another journey.
Yeah.
Love school
Yeah.
fees. But, you know, they never end. I don't care who or what we are and who we are in life. Everybody on this planet can learn something new. And I think
Absolutely.
humility can be one of them.
Yes, yes, that's a good point. So, how do you look back at your childhood and go, "Why was I insecure?" Or do you think that's just a rite of passage that as we grow, that we have to kind of go through that space?
I think it's, I love the story, and it says, are we a part of hereditary factors or are we a part of environmental factors? And it's an age-old debate. And I
Nurture,
really believe
nurture.
I have the answer to that. And I know there's many philosophers that will argue with me. And for me, the answer is very simple. If you look like your mother and your father, you're a product of hereditary factors.
Mm-hmm.
If you look like the next door neighbor, it's the environment. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, classic Brian. But yeah, the nature nurture debate does go on, and I think all of us have at some point in our life had that imposter syndrome going on. So even if you had you were the brashest kid on the block when you were younger, there will be at some point in your life where you've gone, oh, I've got to do this and I've got to do that. I went through a phase where I realised that I needed to stretch myself a little bit more. And best part of a year, when people would say to me, do you fancy doing? Yep. You don't know what it is yet? Yep, I'll do it. And I go, oh, okay. And I would scare myself witless on a regular basis in order to kind of stretch myself out of my comfort zone, because I'd got into this little fur-lined rut and I was kind of cozy in there, but it wasn't doing me any favours. It wasn't helping me to grow, and I needed to grow. So it was a bit too scary, and eventually I went, you know what, I've said yes enough, so I'm going to choose now to say no, because but it was a really good journey to be part of and to understand who you are. And I think, as you say, when somebody tells you a truth that is a little bit painful and your reaction is a trigger of like, no, I'm not, oh, hang on. Because if you know it's coming from love, if you know someone is saying it for your benefit and not because they just want to hear the sound of their own voice and they just want to go, and another thing, like some people do, you have to consider who it's coming from, why it's coming from them, and how they're trying to help you. And when you're on that journey of self-discovery, it becomes much easier to discern the things that you can and should be listening to. And that's, again, going back to Collaboration Global, it is because one of our core values is love. You know, when somebody says something, it isn't out of, putting you down or, pulling you apart. It's about building you up and moving you forward and helping. And my whole philosophy is, if we're all boats together and the tide goes up, let's all go up together and support each other and help each other. So,
and you've pushed my buttons that way.
I'm glad to hear it.
No, you're taking me out of it. I've got to do this, I've got to do that. I'm going, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
And my wife says, yeah, you see what happens.
And at the same time, if you say to me, I don't know if I can do this, I'm like, well, I'm by your side. I'm holding your hand. You're not on your own. And you did
that. And that was fantastic. So it really is. And I think, it's for me, I think most people have done NLP, and I think it's a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant technology when used effectively and used without our own egos getting in the way. But it was designed based on a couple of people. And one of the ladies I love is Virginia Satir. And she did a model on change. And I talk a lot about it because most of us in life, all of us in life, get stuck in what we call our familiar status quo. That's just the place where we're comfortable, the habits that we do, how we get up in the morning. And if you do things enough time, they become a habit. And then that habit becomes a pattern, and it becomes deeply, deeply, deeply entrenched. And to change that is really complex because our brain doesn't like change. We know that. And I do some experiments to show people that, let me show you this. Just try this. Keep this on that for 1 hour and see what happens. And it's like, whoa, we're uncomfortable. And we're in that zone of comfort, and then something massive happens like COVID-19, or you get fired, or you go through a divorce, the tragic things in life, you lose a partner, you lose a child, all those really difficult things. And those are called disruptive moments or foreign elements she used to call them. And that throws us into chaos. It takes us from a place of unconscious competence into a space of conscious incompetence, that I don't know how to do that. And that creates stress. It creates self-doubt. It creates lack of confidence, across fear, failure. And a lot of the times we stop doing it. And the world is in that right now. We are in the space of, we don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
And I look back 3 months ago, because we've been in quarantine now 5 months or so. 3 months ago, if you asked me to run a Zoom MS Teams session, I'd go, what are you talking about? I've got kit over here, green screens over here. And I'm going, I've got too much. Let's just keep it simple and keep it basic. Sit outside next to your place and do it and be real. And so we get to a point where we now have that aha moment, or that little idea that goes, wait a second, if I do this, I'm going to move out there. And that's when we shift out of this world of chaos into conscious competence, or that place where it goes, I'm starting to feel comfortable. And that's where life happens for us, I believe, between that space of conscious incompetence and conscious competence, where we have that light bulb moment and suddenly things happen. Often it's so difficult to do it on our own when we're under stress, because our brain closes up, cortisol just fills up our system, and it just takes our vision and does that with it. We go into fight, flight, or freeze mode. And when we're in a place like Collaboration Global, and I love it because it's comfortable, people are open and they really care. And that, for me, is the difference in the couple of weeks that I've been involved. I'm going, this is a real caring place. It's not about, let me see what I can get out of it. It's about what I can put into it. And when that aha moment happens, we move and we come through then, and we have a lift in our familiar status quo. We've got new habits. We've got new zones of creativity, of experience. And so life becomes exciting. So chaos, even though it's a tragic, horrible place to be in, it's a growth curve.
Yeah.
And it's just time, and time will pass. This will pass. The vaccine will come in time, and many people, not fear, it's going to happen. Many people will move back into the way they're comfortable of doing things. What I love about this is I'm a nature nut. I love that the oceans have cleared up a lot. I love that we went on a cruise, and it was brilliant, to Alaska. And I'd say do it. But Jan and I have made a decision, just looking at the damage that 400, 500 cruise ships, 5,000 people a pop. It's like 1.2 million people.
It's a floating city,
week or 2 weeks. It's crazy. So I'm hoping that life doesn't go back to what it was. And I think we can change that by what we do and how we lead from the front. In whatever, and when I say lead from the front, it could be just your family, just to be an example over there of, guys, put the plastic over here, do this over here. Let's think a little bit more. Let's be a little more open-minded about who we are, what we are, and what we can contribute to this beautiful globe.
Oh, 100%, 100%. And that's why we talk about the new normal, don't we? And it's like everyone has the power to contribute. And I know people go, yeah, but what about all the big industry? They're the ones that are creating all the pollution. Well, it doesn't. They have to do something as well, but you can only be responsible for you. So taking that on board. So for me now, knowing that people have got the hang of Zoom and online meetings, we've now got more people coming to our online meetings than ever came to our face-to-face meetings in London and Surrey and Essex and Hertfordshire. So to me, I'm like, well, why would I go back to that? Maybe just have one meeting where everyone comes once a year, and then I have all the traveling, rather than every single month for 5 different meetings. Doesn't make sense.
Because some people have to travel 2-3 hours to get there.
Yeah. Not the end of the world, and hopefully we'll have people in the community from around the world, so maybe they will jump on a plane. But if it's only once a year and that becomes their annual holiday, that's fine.
Then you want to do it in any case, Jill, because you've met all the people online, and now to be lovely to have face-to-face, to have a hug, but you already know each other, so it's not cold, it's beautiful.
Exactly.
So allow me to push a button.
Ooh, go for it.
I fully believe this, that if enough people think about something, it forms an energy. That energy can then transcend itself somewhere else. Let me give you an example. If you've ever been to a friend's house, you've been invited for dinner, and you go through, and as you're driving up their driveway, you say to your babe, there's trouble here. You can feel it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Before you knock on the door, you can feel that energy come out the door. And as you open up the door, I look at my buddy's eyes, and he goes, And you have one of those dinners that it's tense, and I'm the worst in those because I love to stir the pot.
Naughty. I can imagine.
Yeah. I love it. I absolutely, and I can't tell you what I say there because it becomes hysterical. But so we can pick that up. Yeah. When we're with somebody that's really excited and they're passionate and they're energetic, we pick up that energy as well. So Rupert Sheldrake, a biologist in the UK, and he's a genius guy. He's got a bit of a bad rep for some people because they think he's a bit of a lunatic, but I love some of the experiments that he's done. And one of them was in, I think it was Southport. Mm-hmm. In the 20s, there were these little birds called blue tits. And in those days,
tell the story. I love this story. Go on.
They're still around today. And in those days, and I say this to everyone, if you remember the days where they used to deliver milk in the bottles, and they had those little foil caps on them, and there was about that much cream on. Yeah. And in South Africa, we had the same thing, believe it or not. And suddenly, out of the blue, in Portsmouth, these little birds came and they pecked the caps, and they started drinking the cream. And within a couple of months, birds from 15 miles away, 20, 30 miles away, and bearing in mind that the blue tit only flies 5-mile radius out of its territory, they started doing that. Within months, it started happening in all little villages over the UK. And within 2 to 3 years, most of Europe, it started happening. And he found out about this, and they started to research, why does this happen? And then the Second World War came, and in Holland, and it was highly researched in Holland, where the Germans took over, and for 5 years, no milk was delivered whatsoever. And the lifespan of the blue tit average is about 5 years. Mm-hmm. And then 8 years later, milk was delivered, and within 2 months, none of the birds alive would have had any experience in this, and suddenly they started going back to the bottles within 2 months and doing it. And he calls that morphogenetic or morphic resonance.
Let me write that one down.
Yeah.
Morphogenetic.
Morphogenetic resonance. And the shortcut is morphic resonance. Now, this is a little bit of a crazy thing, and this is where the big scientists go, oh, no, he's lost his marbles. But I believe anything starts with a great idea.
Should I freak you out a little bit more following on from that? Oh, there's more. Check it out. There's the 100th monkey syndrome. That's kind of been debunked slightly, how monkeys worked out how to use a stone to get into coconuts, and then on an island a little way away they had the same thing. But if you check out, I want to say Richard Dawkins, but it might be David Hawkins. I can't remember which one. One is a crazy guy and one's quite a good scientist. So apologies, but he worked out that the square root of 1% of the population of the UK is enough to hit the tipping point of consciousness in our society. Yeah?
That is the point.
So somebody has worked out in Collaboration Global that in order for our culture, in our community, to reach everyone in the UK, we have to reach 834 people, because that's the tipping point.
Okay.
And once we do that, then everybody will see that love, connection and abundance is a better way to live than fear, scarcity and competition. And they will see each other as human beings, not black or white or straight or gay or man or woman or old or young. They will see each other as human beings first, and love will be the superpower that we have in our country. Now, just imagine if that happens in the UK, 834, maybe 5 or 6 or 900 even. Is that going to kick into America? Is that going to kick into France? Where is it going to go?
Absolutely.
And the potential for understanding how to be collaboration and not do collaboration, the potential is mind-blowing.
Exponential.
So people say, how many people are in your community? Well, it's not many at the moment, but the potential of what we can actually offer if we hit that tipping point. And I love your story.
It's not about the numbers. It's about the quality of the person coming in there, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Is this person right for this? Do they think the same kind of thing? Is it about me, or is it about collaboration? What's the big picture out there? And that, for me, is an absolute crucial one. And so if you read some of it, and I'll send you some of his information, that's exactly what he talks about. Brilliant. He says morphogenic resonance is when enough people do the same thing, that energy transcends somewhere else, and those birds over here, suddenly in Holland, they're doing this. How does that happen? Yeah. And because science can't put their finger on it, they debunk it, which is fine. And there will always be those people.
Yeah.
I choose to rather look at the creative side and say there's a possibility of things happening and probabilities of things happening.
We don't know what we don't know. So how can you say it's wrong?
What's out of our frame of reference? So much information. When we use 10% of our brain, if we're lucky. Imagine if we use 12, 13, 14 for the right reasons.
Yes, exactly, for the right reasons. There is so much potential, and this is what makes me laugh as well when people say, what criteria do you use to let people into your community? I'm like, well, anyone can come, because basically they discount themselves. It's a bit like when you talk about firing someone, is you just let them realize that they're in the wrong place for them. It doesn't suit them. It's not working for them. So when somebody comes and they're making the wrong sort of noise, or they're kind of they go on to a meeting and they start selling, and we kind of all go, oh, why are you selling to us? Why are you doing it? And eventually I think I've only ever said to one person, you can't join, because he was totally selling all the time. And he stood up in the middle of the room when we had a meeting and said, I'm going to join. This is amazing. This is fantastic. I'm going to tell you all about what I do. And so we went for a meal afterwards, and he was sat opposite me. And for literally an hour and a half, he was just talking at me. So he said, I can't wait to join. I went, I'm sorry, I don't think you can at the moment. I thought, I can't stand the fact that he's just pigeonholing someone and just talking about himself for the whole time. He wasn't well. I don't think he was well. I think he had other things going on. But I don't say no to anybody joining, because what will happen is, if it feels comfortable for you, you're going to want to help people. You're going to want to, and you'll get stuck in. And so the ones that kind of join and just sit on the periphery quite often just fade away, because it doesn't feel right for them. And when, as Margaret Mead tells us, the famous anthropologist, is never doubt that a small group of committed people can change the world.
Oh, absolutely.
Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. So it's the committed people that I'm interested in, the ones that get it, the ones that understand how powerful it is if we just come together, come with the superpower of love, create that culture, live in that paradigm, be in abundance. And then the world is your oyster. It really is. It can be so much. Those blue tits are showing us the way, Brian. Well, listen, I'm just looking at the time. We could do this for another 2 hours. I'm just going to quickly look at my notes to make sure that I don't sound silly, but I think we've covered practically everything that you wanted to talk about. We've built relationships, releasing tension. You've talked about the cortisol, the habit zone. I'm going to check out Rupert Sheldrake. Thank you very much. He sounds really interesting.
Really, really interesting.
And the fact that you talked about your behavioral styles and your values, and changing and allowing people to see a different status quo in what they're at. Have you got any last things you'd like to tell the person listening to this wonderful podcast today?
I think that one of the critical things is to have some fun, and for me, find out what it is you really want to do in life. Because once we have that kind of purpose, we have a drive, we have a direction. Yes, you're going to get thrown off course every now and again, and it may not be what you want to do at the end of the day, but if you have that process that says, this is what I want to do, then you're going to go and do it. If you're into photography, which I'm passionate about, and I want to pick up my camera,
touched on that. That's an amazing thing.
And it's raining, and I want to go and take a picture. Sometimes I go, I'm not used to the rain. But when I do go out there and I do it, I go, wow, what an experience. So it's follow your dream. Follow your dream. There's going to be times when you give up. There's going to be times when there's going to be stress. Have good people around you that are there to support you. If people have to break other people down, they're not really there for you. I believe this. If you're passionate about who you are and what you are, you will attract that.
Yes.
As well.
100%. And like you say, when you found out what your purpose is, what your inner genius is, your whole blooming reason for being on this planet, it doesn't mean to say it makes it easy necessarily.
No,
it doesn't mean to say you're going to spring out of bed with all the joys of spring, which a lot of people kind of give you the illusion that, once you have your purpose, you're okay. You're self-motivated. It's not always the case, but it does give you that mission in life that makes you go, well, I'm going to carry on because it's a bit tough, but it's worth it. And I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to find a way through. And when you surround yourself with other people that are also doing the same, and what I love is when somebody comes in with a purpose and someone goes, oh, that's kind of my purpose as well. And someone else goes, do you know what? I've been trying to do that. Well, the three of you get together, off you go and go collaborate. And I'll teach you how to collaborate in the most effective way that you can without worrying about your IP or whether someone's going to steal money from you. We get all that flat. And then that purpose for those three gets multiplied.
Absolutely.
And
I can definitely speak for that, because having worked on my own I had a team of 15 people, but working on my own, it's much more complicated, because you don't get the ideas, you don't get, wow, what about this? What about exactly what you're saying? So when you're with a group of people that you can collaborate with and you feel comfortable with in terms of sharing, and I don't care about IP, people can take my IP and do whatever they like. I'll give you my manuals if you want them. That makes no difference to me whatsoever. But when we get those ideas, you go, I didn't think about that. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
It's even setting this stuff up over here. There's folks like Frank and Francis who've been absolutely amazing, saying, Brian, try this, do that, do that. It's like, wow, thank you. You didn't have to tell me. And there's other people who you ask and they go, yeah, sure, no, we'll get back to you. And you never hear a word. And I go, okay, I understand. I don't take it personally. I just go, that's fine. It's who you are. It's what you are. But I'm one of those people. If you want something, man, I give too much stuff away.
Well, yeah, I think we've both got that problem. I remember having a call with somebody for an hour, and I gave them, they said, oh, that's really interesting. Thank you so much. That's really useful. I'm going to do that. I'm definitely going to do that. That's brilliant, you know. And how can I help you? So I told them how they might be able to help me. Well, actually, my charges are, I was like, really? I've just given you stuff that is going to potentially earn you an absolute fortune, and you're just asking me to spend 50 quid with you that... Anyway, it was just, so you can't win them all, as they say. But I think that we've identified in this podcast that we're definitely on the same page, which is beautiful. And I just cannot believe that you're one of our members. I still haven't given a hug to you yet, so you've got that to look forward to.
I look forward to that too.
And ironically, your other half, being the detail-driven person, is very similar to my other half as well. So I think I'd love them two to meet too. They'll be moaning about us within 10 seconds, probably.
I think it'll be a fabulous evening. I really do.
Right, and if somebody wanted to get in touch with you so that you could help their staff or possibly themselves to have harmony and fun in their business, what's the easiest way for them to get hold of you?
Probably through my website, which is Brian at Brian Abbott Training, or www.brianabbottraining.com.
And that's 2 B's and 2 T's, yeah?
2 B's, 2 T's, and an extra T for training.
.com. That's easy to find you. Obviously, you can. You're part of the Collaboration Global community now. So if anybody wants to come along to one of our meetings, they're always the last Tuesday of the month. You can find us on Eventbrite, or you can find us through Meetup, or on our website, collaborationglobal.org. You'll see Brian in person and have a chat with him, because he's going to be there most of those months as well. So thank you so much for joining us today, Brian. I thoroughly enjoyed this. What an insight. It's been absolutely fantastic. I will never think of electric chair in quite the same way again. And obviously, what does fun stand for again in your world?
Full-time involvement, unlimited enthusiasm, and do it now.
Lovely. Perfect lesson for life. Thank you so much for joining us. Had a great day.
Joel, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure and seamless. Really, thank you.
Thank you, darling. I'll speak to you soon.
Take care.
Thanks for joining us. Bye.
Pleasure.